Hiya, it's Xavier. Welcome to Bonsai for Breakfast, and it's definitely not going to be the longest of ones because I'm in Orkney right now. Many of you who've been with my channel for a long time will know that every year I take a 2-week sabbatical up on the small island of Stronsay. But I thought, really, because of the busyness we've had with the yellow visits and all that, I ought to let you know, otherwise I know it'll happen. You'll all start worrying, won't you?
I'm worried about him.
So am I.
But does that mean you should switch off? No, of course not. Because right in front of me, I have got one of my, well, what I thought was a European olive. And in fact, somewhere in there is a European olive. But for those of you with a cannier eye, which didn't include me until Yella dropped by last week, I've also got this smaller leaf, darker green, wild olive. Now, I didn't pick up on it because it's gone absolutely crazy. And the reason why this is important for you to know is that in Europe, in particular the UK, this smaller leaf wild olive variety absolutely thrives over here. It does really well, it likes the cool temperature. So that's my big tip. If you're looking for olives in the UK, then you need to be looking for the wild olive variety. Don't be surprised if you find out that the grafted stock, which is this big leaf here, which is the standard European olive, has actually been grafted on to a wild olive, which is why all these suckers and shoots that are coming out from the base are the darker green leaf, and I hadn't even noticed. And these are going to look absolutely fantastic. And the question is simple. First of all, if you've seen this video there, it'll show you the preparation of these olives and what it is that I intend to do. In short, I want to make a clump out of this because the main stalk of it, trunk, actually died off. Do I continue to build this clump sort of foresty style based on 4 or 5 of the wild olive and then keep also the I think the Mediterranean or European olive, which is this much larger leaf and has them all as almost in contrast? Let me know in the comments what you would do. Meanwhile, I do know I'm going to be cutting that stump down even further, but really all I'm going to be doing right now, keep feeding it. And for me, that's just the blood and bone, which my good friend Yella of Growing Bonsai recommended to me last week. Sprinkle a little bit around. And just remember, the more you put on, the bigger growth you might get. And this then is basically going to spend the rest of the time before it gets too miserable and cold in the sunniest part of the garden. More heat. Am I going to do any pruning? No, I'm going to let this continue to thrive out. And when we look at it in spring, I'm then going to go prune right back and see if we can create some nice movement and style. But the only big proviso, if you've got an olive with young shoots or whips, if you're going to do any changes in direction and wire them, strongly suggest you do it before the autumn starts. Even these ones are now just starting to stiffen up, so if I wanted to put wire on, now is the time to do it. Now the other thing I just want to clarify is, although I'm going to be up in Orkney, and you probably, the last bit of content will be this one. The next time you'll see any content is in 2 weeks' time for the Bonsai for Breakfast, which is around about the 7th of October. And that doesn't mean you can't do anything just because I'm not.
What do you want me to do?
Your junipers, your pines. If you haven't repotted them in sort of a good while, now is the time to do it. You know the sort of success I've had with pines. I mean, Yella, in my recent Bonsai for Breakfast, absolutely fantastic episode. If you haven't seen it, you really must. Told me that he's really, really impressed with how my pines are getting on. And he's pointed out that part of that is down to the soil that I use, which is basically a pumice based. So this one has been in this pot for a long time. It's had a good year where it's actually starting to recover. We're getting lots of juvenile growth. Although it looks like it's covered in needles, it's actually a scale. It's actually a scale juniper. So it's probably, I'm not sure entirely the variety, but it's well on the road to recovery. I'll be getting that out, and you'll probably see the video of that in a few weeks' time. But if you haven't started doing them, and you need to, now is definitely the time to do it. And if you want to see a video that really highlights some of the problems a beginner especially has with juniper, then I recommend that you hit bell notifications and subscribe to my channel, because Yella and I put together a little bit of material actually highlighting why I've actually had so many issues understanding and getting to grips with the junipers in my garden. I think it's going to be quite interesting, so that's something you might want to look out for. Now, as I mentioned, Katerina is going to be accompanying me on this this 2-week solitude trip, where all I'm going to be doing is collecting rocks, watching seals, and sitting about doing not very much at all. While I'm away, Mr. Algorithm sometimes gets a little bit sulky if people stop watching content, and they might think you don't like me anymore, which would be really, really sad for me, and not true, surely.
Answer unknown. I shall analyze.
So what I'm going to suggest is, if you've joined me in the last year, why don't you trail back to this time last year and have a look and see some of the content that was there. There's certainly some really fun stuff with my trip to Orkney. I think this shows me going to Hawthorn Bonsai. There's even a great one about me collecting rocks. I came back with some wonderful potential root on rock rocks, slate slabs, with permission of course, because these do belong to the Queen. But there are some characteristics about collecting rocks, and if you hang around to the end of the video, there'll be a card that comes up that shows you just what to look out for. I've done lots of Airlayer videos. I think there's been 2 or 3 over the last 6 weeks on this channel, and I've got 3 in front of me now. Shall we have a look at this one and see if it's, as I think, a failure? And I'll tell you why there's an early indication right now. We all love air layers that work. It's a fantastic feeling when you see those roots in the baggie. But you know what? Sometimes it doesn't. All the air layers I did within 2 days of each other. All of them have used the same technique, the same moss, everything. Some of them have been a success, and unfortunately there's a few that haven't been. Now, I did say there's some easy ways to pick the fact the air layer is probably not doing so well. And it's really easy. Beneath the air layer, nice dark green leaves, not loads of growth, but certainly it's healthy. In the bag, it's looking very, very green, and truthfully, I don't see any sign of any root tips. I'm suggesting it's probably stayed just a bit too damp, and it's sweaty, so it's not an ideal environment. If I give it a squeeze, it feels moist. And the other big sign, if you haven't noticed yet, these leaves are all yellow. They're dropping, so I don't think there's a lot going on in here. I think when we remove that bag, we're going to see, unfortunately, not an awful lot of roots. Now, I think what I will say to you as I take this off is that when I put this air layer on, this is the one I really wanted a good result from. Very, very promising here. Got some nice weeds there, so at least something's growing. But I don't see any great thing of roots. Now, what I will look out for is if there's just the start of some roots, I'm going to put this back on. Because there's a little bit of callousing in there, and potentially starter roots. Now, in here, I don't know if you can see, but there's certainly the whites that shows the callousing areas. That's actually not a bad sign. And up till now, whenever I've seen that, I've been a bit sort of careless. I've just taken everything off and left it and separated and just wasted that. But this is potentially going to be a good one. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to reseal it, and then we're going to just see whether or not in another 4 months whether we get roots. So my big tip here, when you're looking at your air layers, and as I say, we're getting to the latter stages of summer into autumn, this is probably the last stage where I would separate and put them into soil. But don't be impatient. Do you know what? If it looks like that, give it another 3 or 4 months. Yes, you're going to have to get it through the winter. Well, guess what's going to happen? I'll keep this out until the weather starts getting very, very cold, and then maybe I'll put it in the cold frame over the colder part of, say, I don't know, January, February. And who knows? We may be looking at this in spring, and the other 2 that are down there, and we'd be finding roots. If not, do you know what? In spring, I'll separate and we'll work on what's going on down here. So my tip is, don't be in a hurry. Put the baggie back on and give it another 3 or 4 months. Now, before I talk to you about this massive old Hawthorn Stump, which you have seen me working on earlier in the spring, and if you hadn't, that's great viewing for you to decide to watch on either Thursday, Saturday, or indeed the Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday the following week. I mean, what's great to see is I think the last time you saw this, I wired out lots of branches, and then I said to you, I'm going to let it go. And truthfully, we've had absolutely tons of growth. Am I going to do major cutting back right now? No, I've weeded, I've put in some bone meal in the soil, and all I am going to do is just check where the wire is, because there has been growth, What I don't want to do is be growing all those branches out and end up scarring them because I haven't checked and looked properly. And as you can see, following this branch here, you can see already there's a little bit of swelling there. Certainly along here, I can just see the ridges starting to rise, which means it has definitely dug in. Is that a word? We're going to call it dug in when it refers to wire. So while I'm getting the wire off this, and I'll probably do it with just some clippers, I won't save the wire. Why not? Let's have a look at a load of subscriber pictures which have been sent in to me over the last 2 months. Hawthorn are particularly prickly, a bit like me on a Monday morning. Very, very prickly. The first thing I do is I'm going to answer a question. In the last subscriber photo episode, there was a flower that was sitting in the bottom corner of one of the pictures that Nellie had sent in. And I asked people if they knew what it was, but Nellie nicely came back and said it was a bougainvillea. We've got Kennet's Kennet de Bond. He's actually sent me through a picture of his birch which he potted up, and I know Kennet has got loads of content on his channel, and I think perhaps there's a lot going on in his life. I'm not saying anything miserable or anything, but have a look and see. And if you haven't watched Kennet's stuff, there's a link in the description. Please have a look back over some of his stuff. He was one of the original guys that I used to watch when I first started doing bonsai. And then from CM, I believe that's Chris. He's in regular contact. We've got a picture here of his jade, which I do believe was a cutting. It wasn't a cutting, it was an air layer. There you go, how's that? Sorry Chris, I did forget exactly what it was. And then Chris here has also sent in pictures of a tanuki he's building out of juniper, and he's done a really good deep channel on this piece of wood, and as you see he's threaded in beautifully the juniper into it, so I think that's going to be absolutely masterful. Ta-da! We have wire, and I'll straighten that. There's two ways of straightening. I did a little short on it where you can actually put one end into a vise and then the other end you put into your drill, and it straightens it. Otherwise just pull really hard. Or around a table leg and do this sawing motion, something that Peter Chan does. Now we've also got John, who, based on the inspiration we started, where you see if you can make bonsais out of inspirational photographs, and as you know I've got one going on at the moment based on a photograph of a silver birch group, and you'll see more of that actually. That's developing really nicely. But John here has done the same. He's done it with thuja, but his inspiration has been a tree, I think, that's on Lake Superior, which is, I think it's called the Little Cedar Spirit Tree. I love that, and if anyone else is doing inspired, real life tree inspired stuff, I'd love to see it. I think what's good to see here, by the way, is that the gentle movement that I've put into this has actually held quite nicely. And probably the most surprising thing will be for you when you see in the autumn, once the leaves have dropped, just how much I cut this back. And then we've got Ryan. He's got a couple of trees that I think he put in a show. One of those is a Hinoki cypress. Really love that. Then there's an azalea. Very, very interesting. I'll be interested to see how he develops that one further. I know he's got some ideas. That's another bit of wire off. What I'll say is, if you have got scarring with the hawthorn, don't worry. They're fast growing and they've got quite a rough bark. As they get older, any wire scars will probably, unless they're really, really bad, grow over quite nicely. So it's another bit of wire saved. Now, we've got John, who's got a brilliant cherry air layer. I was really, really impressed with this, and I'll be looking forward to seeing that develop. Pat, there's a potted up ginkgo. I can't remember again whether that was an air layer or something he did from a cutting, but again, I think that's going to be looking really good. And Lee has had real success with an air layer on a bald cypress, and I think we've got 3 photographs here showing the progression, but that is a lot of roots, so really impressed with that, Lee. And again, it's another one that I'll be very intrigued to see how it develops. But if anyone asks, can you air layer a bald cypress, well, I think we've got the answer from Lee there, most definitely. My old friend Joe of Nottingham, he's got his old Welsh Yamadori larch and a rather spectacular sumo pyracantha, and I'm looking forward. I've asked Joe if I can visit his garden, perhaps for a future bonsai for breakfast. Let down in the comments if you'd like to see a few more gardens from other hobbyists, because there's some nice ones there. It'd be nice to drop in and see some other collections. What do you think? We're pretty well done on the photos actually. Oh no, let's not forget, we have got one more, and that's from John, and he I was really hoping to see him actually on the way back from Orkney, because he's quite close to the route down, but I always know that it's a big 7 or 8 hours travelling time from Aberdeen, so I know Kat and I are probably quite keen to get back and also to beat any rush hour traffic, hence we won't do any diversions. You're not going to believe this. I'm about to show you a picture of this bloke called Earl. He's got a sister who makes the most incredible cakes, and she's made a bonsai cake, and you know, somehow, what are you doing here? Come here. We've actually got the man himself. This is Earl. Hello, Earl.
Good morning, how you doing?
Good morning. What time is it? I don't know about you, but I can tell watch time. Is it past midday? Because we were going to meet at 2 o'clock. Because I hear you've got a pretty decent bonsai collection and you want to keep that secure, don't you?
Yeah, going to keep that nice and safe.
Okay. Now, talking about keeping things safe, I notice you've come with your big hamper. Is there some more goodies there for me?
Oh, I've got another box of biscuits, but they're reserved for someone else, I'm afraid.
Who are they reserved for?
Mr. Tickle.
Oh, now Tony Tickle, we all know Tony Tickle. He is a bit of a UK bonsai legend. I learned absolutely everything I know about yews from watching Tony Tickle's video, and also a little bit on Hawthorn, but mainly yews. Absolutely incredible videos. So, and it's good to see he's still working. But you're going to see Tony Tickle, are you?
Yeah, he's been very nice and invited me to see him. I think it's in 2 days' time.
Oh, fantastic. I tell you what, I think I've came across Tony Tickle once, and I got the chance to speak to him once. He won't remember me, but if you can do anything at all, tell him that his videos on you were inspirational for me, certainly a good 3 or 4 years back. Talking of comments, you've got a sister who we know makes, I'll show you this, the most incredible cake, and you can't see it properly, but you saw the photo. I bet it's the tinfoil sparkling, but it's got lovely blue icing, and it's really good for weight reduction apparently. The bit that isn't actually is he gave me some really nice chocolate biscuits. I had to pick the ones that weren't as nice. He wants the nice ones to go to Tony. Would you believe it? But yes, I'm going to enjoy those. Thank you very much for those.
You're very welcome.
Now, Earl was also telling me that his sister not only makes the most incredible cake, but she's also got her own travel thing on YouTube.
Yeah, she's got her own YouTube channel, just coming up to about 1,000 subscribers. Jack and Lindsay recently did a video going to Florida, celebrating that, going with the family.
Yeah.
And they travel all over the world. They go to Asia and everywhere. So,
does she pay you to be in those videos?
oh no, I'm not in the video. She keeps people more photogenic than me.
You mean I was lucky enough to have you in my bonsai for breakfast, and your sister's just giving it the cold shoulder for you?
I'm afraid so. Yeah.
That's just not going to happen. It really isn't. You can't do that. What's your sister's name?
Lindsay.
No, of course it is, because that would be one of the two names. Oh, that was it, Lindsay and Jack. Or
Jack and Lindsay.
yeah, it's not Jack, is it? Lindsay, you've got to do better. Earl's a great bloke. Perhaps you can get one of his bonsai into your travel videos. Now, more importantly, you just mentioned, no, you can't have that. Do you know what that is?
It looks like a little elm.
It is. Would you ever confuse that with a Zelkova?
It depends if I read the label.
Yeah, it's a little Chinese elm cutting. It's about 8 years old now, and that's in a pot by my favourite designer. Now, if you've watched my videos for a couple of years,
Oh, you're going to ask me for a name. I'm terrible with names.
you know when the sun comes up, it's
Oh, Dawn Isaac.
way.
There we go.
See, Dawn, you are famous even if you're not watching my videos. But you know, it's all about having fun, and most of us have jobs, work hard, or we just have stressful lives. And as I say, 95% of us just want to find a way to relax. Bonsai does it for me. Does it do it for you?
Yeah, that's exactly how I got into bonsai. Life was too busy, 101 commitments. I just out for that 15 minutes in the morning with my trees, my cup of coffee, walking around, checking them out, and it's a bit of me time every day, 15 minutes, and it just grounds you and keeps you going, really.
Yeah. We're both sporting pretty decent hats here in the September sun, and I want subscribers to say which one they think is the best. I personally have a favourite. How long have you had yours for?
Oh, a long time. I think it must be 18 years I've had this hat.
I've only had mine for about 6 years, so he wins on that as well. I don't know why he's come to the garden, I really don't. I just feel really down now. I feel like a failure. You mentioned you love Hawthorn. Well, the first thing I would say, I'm really sorry. I'm still working on this. This is part of a channel favourite, but I've just been taking all the wire off, well, half of the wire when you rudely interrupted me. And I'm just going to be taking the suckers off and stuff like that. I'll put some bone meal in, which around this time of year, I've got the fish blood and bone, and Yeller also agreed. Nice, cheap, easy stuff. Put it on all the trees, and it'll do fine. But I hear you're what part of a bonsai club, or you've got some. Which tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm a member of North East Lincolnshire Bonsai Society. Fantastic club, really welcoming group. I got in touch with them. I'd been doing bonsai for probably about 6 months, and then everywhere I watched and read said get in touch with your local society, so I did that. You can read all the books and you can watch all the videos, but it's nice to have someone there to guide you, you know, take your tree in and they'll tell you how to get to the next step rather than you just snipping and praying.
Yeah, more snipping, loads more praying. But whereabouts are they then?
They're in Grimsby.
Grimsby, and they meet?
Last Friday of every month.
Last Friday of every month.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, perfect.
They got a good set of members?
Yeah, fantastic set of members. I think one of them's your #1 fan as well, Kim. She's ever so jealous that I'm coming here.
Hello, Kim. You know you can come up here. In fact, when I go and visit Earl, maybe if you're near him, we can share some fish and chips, because apparently the fish and chips are quite good down in where he lives. I'm not saying you're just in case. I give it all away and everyone goes, oh, we're going to Earl's for a party. You heard how I left my gate open the other week.
Oh, yes.
No one came. I knew that. My gate's safe. My front door's normally open as well. So, but less said about that anyway. What do you think of this one anyway? What would you do with this? Apart from watch out for the wire, it's half on and off.
I'm not sure. I haven't got a Hawthorn in my collection yet. It's the next one that I've got my eye out for, but I hear they're very forgiving. Snip them back and they come back in abundance.
Yeah, this has been snipped. This has been snipped twice this year. I'm sure you know the videos. Do you know what? I don't know about you. I've been so happy and impressed with Earl actually just jumping in at absolutely last short notice. That's really a bad thing to do to someone who's come to visit for their 40th. We'll wish them all a big happy birthday. So in the comments, happy birthday, Earl. How old are you?
40.
I've probably said that 3 times already, but there you go. And now I'm going to turn the camera off and we're going to enjoy, well, hopefully, looking at my washing. I've got my washing up. There's 2 tablecloths. They're quite interesting. They're quite old as well, but I haven't done any wiring on them. So we'll have a look at those as well.
I do not have time for your delusional witterings.
Any last words you want to say before you actually go back to real life?
Oh, no, thank you very much. It's just a pleasure to be here in the garden and look at all your lovely trees.
Well, goodness, that was a fantastic visit. Earl was here for a good hour and a half, and I think he left about 3:45. Yeah, so I've got all the wire off. There's some little bit of light scarring, but that's not an issue. What I am going to do now is just remove some of these suckers so I can clear this out and just see what's going on. As I said earlier, I'm certainly not going to be doing any pruning back yet. I'm going to wait until the leaves drop. I just want to clear out the base here a little bit. But apart from that, I've cleaned out all the suckers. I don't really need these ones here, I know that. So we'll get rid of them. That is actually as far as I'm going to go right now. So, okay, well hopefully you've enjoyed that. But the only thing I've got left to do is sort out my seeds, which is my dwarf pomegranate and also my Siberian crabapple. They're going to be part of a longer term time-lapse video, but I've just got to dry these off and make sure the pip's all right and then get them in some soil. But apart from that, make sure I've got my reading material for my holiday. It may not surprise you, but I'm going to be reading Jason's Haiku Dreams, always good bedtime reading, and Bonsai Masterclass from Peter Chan, my signed copy, which you'll be very well aware that I got. So I'll be reading those. In terms of where we are, right now for you, it's getting near the end of September, so I'd just recommend that if you haven't looked at my seasonal care guides, that could be some good videos to watch while I'm not putting anything up. Remember, if you can try and watch something on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday from my channel, then that'll help me no end. So I'm going to recommend, well, what about the October seasonal tasks? In fact, it's coming up just there. Thanks very much for watching. All the best. Happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.